On this episode, we're going to be talking about how to get sponsorships for your podcast or your blog or your social media presence. So stay tuned for this Training Tuesday.
Welcome to Thriving Launch with Louise Congdon and Kamala Chambers. This show for heart-centered entrepreneurs who want it all.
5 days a week, we bring you different segments to inspire you to live a life of freedom. We interview the leading experts in the field of business, health, and love. Be sure to check out Training Tuesdays, where we give you a clear action plan to grow your own business. Maybe you can relate to this. When I was a full-time coach, keep repeating the same things to people over and over and over again, and it got to be kind of draining, and I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing anymore. So what I decided to do was record the things that I had to tell clients over and over and over again, and then I packaged those recordings together and sold them as an online course. If you're interested in creating and selling your own online course, head over to thrivinglaunch.com, and I have a free training for you on how to create and make passive income through your own online course.
Today's guest is Erica Duran. She is a business coach for modern online entrepreneurs. She runs a freedom-based luxury lifestyle business and helps people travel the world. We're excited to have Erica Duran on today's Thriving Launch episode. All right, Thriving Launchers, we're here with Erica. I'm excited to talk about podcast sponsorships and how you're able to live in resorts that sponsor your podcast, which is really exciting for all of us here at Thriving Launch. So, Erica, are you ready to launch?
I am.
Fantastic. So one of the first things, when I heard you say that you live at resorts that sponsor your podcast, my ears perked up. And I know a lot of us here at Thriving Launch who are podcasters or thinking about starting a podcast. This is fascinating because a lot of people want to make a living or at least make some extra income from their podcast. So one of the first things I would love, and I think all the listeners here, I know you guys are wondering, what does that even mean that you live at the resorts that sponsor your podcast?
Yeah, so I basically get, I guess you could say, room and board in exchange for advertising the resort on my podcast and social media channels. I also have cash sponsors where I have different sponsorship packages that they can purchase and customize. But my main goal when I started the podcast was I didn't want to even start it or think about working on it until I obtained a sponsor, which is kind of backwards from what's taught in the podcasting community, that you have to have all these downloads and all first. I knew how much work it was. I was like, I'm not going to do this unless I have a sponsor. But basically the resorts let me stay there, and I cover them through video for my YouTube channel. And I know they can't see me doing the podcast from the actual resort, but I think the energy is there. And then there's some commercials in the mid-roll and so forth for the resort.
That's so great. I love that it's something unique, something that I've never heard anyone do before, which is fantastic. I know that, I did this a little bit. I travel with a production company, and we did video production, and we were able to get all our hotels and our meals and our tours and everything covered because we said, hey, we'll feature you in our video, in our DVD, back when that was the thing, DVDs, just by having us in there. But to do that with your podcast, it's really innovative. I'd love to hear, what is the first step that you'd recommend people do to reach out to sponsors?
Yeah, I think that the first thing you should do is take inventory on the products and services and things that you really enjoy. It's just going to make it a more pleasant working environment and everything. You're going to be more passionate about going after those sponsors. So something that's in alignment with both your audience and you is a great first step. To make a massive list of any time you think of a company or a service provider or so forth. Have this ongoing massive list. And then it honestly just some pure hustle, reaching out to them on Twitter or Facebook or just emailing the email on their website and asking who the right person to talk to is. A lot of my success with it has been when they start following me first. It kind of helps open up the door that it's not a sure thing, but I have a better chance if they follow me first.
That's great. So I could see what it's like to walk through the world with you, where every product you pick up that you're interested in, you think, I wonder if this would make a good sponsor.
It does happen like that. Like I started using 17 hats in my business and I loved it and I got all my clients using it. And then I reached out to their sales executive and asked, if we could partner up. And lo and behold, they said yes.
So why do they want to be sponsors with you? Like, what kind of incentive, how do you frame it as an incentive for them to be sponsors for your show?
Yeah, so I have all my demographics in order and what we are going to provide them. So, for example, when I was brand new and didn't even have a podcast, I was going after sponsors and I couldn't very well show them download numbers or listener numbers or anything like that. But what I could show them was, we're going to tweet about this 5 times a day. We're going to put it on, it's going to be on a rotation on our social media. So about every 30 days, you're going to get a boost again. It's going to live forever. So all the benefits that we could give them, we pitch them basically on these things. And sometimes they say that's great, but we don't really participate on Twitter or whatever. You don't have to tweet or whatever. They'll customize it to them and just go from there, just build a relationship from there.
I absolutely love that. And that's really what it's about. It's always about building relationships and looking for how you can add value to someone else's life and into someone else's business. So what else would you say are some of your key tips for gaining sponsorships for a podcast?
Yeah, I think one of the big things is to be visible have a strong message when you are on social media so that you cause an interest and people or sponsors start following you. So like I said previously, it's easier to get a sponsor if they follow you first. So being visible, maybe commenting, liking, posting, sharing their stuff and getting in front of them could perhaps perk up their ears and they start following you.
Do you have a home too, or you just live at these resorts? I'm just curious.
Vagabond.
Yeah, that's part of it. All the digital nomads I knew and who wrote books and stuff were kind of vagabond lifestyle, and I didn't really want to be a backpacker or anything like that. So I took this route instead. I would say my home base is Newport Beach, California, but I haven't really been there too often since 2012. If I have a big, huge project that I need to get done, like when I was writing my group program, I did rent like a vacation villa on a golf course in Arizona just to get some quiet and punch that project out. But other than that, I don't really have a permanent home right now.
Well, we know what that lifestyle is like. We definitely move around a lot, and we have, right now, instead of having a place in the city and the place on a little island, we just kept our little place on the island and just spend most of the year traveling. So it's a really refreshing way to live, an amazing time that we can live that way.
Yeah, it's super amazing, the technology that we have that we can do this. We're just the luckiest generation probably ever.
When we're thinking about reaching out to companies for sponsorship, and it's something that I've definitely done and enjoy doing. It's a lot of work up front. A lot of times reaching out to people because some people will open their emails, not respond. Some people will respond with questions. Then you got to kind of go back and forth. Have you figured out some key things with that initial email or that initial reaching out that really helps get them to respond and maybe get on the phone with you or to kind of keep things moving forward?
Yeah, actually, it's probably the reverse of what I did. I used to write these really long, heartfelt emails explaining everything, and you don't even know if that email is going to get to the right person. So now I usually just 1 or 2 lines. Hey, I'm interested in featuring your resort or your product on my podcast, who's the right person to speak to, is basically all that I would do now to like get them on the hook first, and then do a long pitch or a long heartfelt email if that was what was needed for that particular sponsor. So I definitely save time there. Another thing I do is have a VA do the pitching or the contacting. Like I wrote the email, but she sends them. And this is, obviously a time saver in my day. But the big thing is that there's not the fear like, oh, this resort's too big or this product's too big. She just sends it because she has no emotional attachment to it. If I did it myself, the letters might not get out because my procrastination on, self-doubt kind of thing.
So then when you reach out to these companies and you're reaching out to resorts and you're saying, hey, I'd like to feature you. And this is something really cool. And as we're listening to you now, let's see, Kamala and I are kind of like, you know what? We've reached out to a lot of companies. We have sponsors for the podcast. We have a variety of different sponsors, and a lot of companies send us stuff without us even asking. But we've actually never considered the idea of a resort. So when you reach out to a resort, and I know a lot of people here at Thriving Launch, I know a lot of you are travelers or want to live out of your backpack and travel the world. And so this is a fantastic thing to do, and you can apply it if you have a blog, if you have a YouTube channel. So just remember, as we talk about it in the podcasting sphere, you can take it and apply it to any kind of business media that you have and offer the same kind of thing. When you get that person that says, that sounds interesting, we're interested, then what do you do from there?
Then I send them the longer letter of exactly what we do and exactly what we can provide them, and see if that's a good fit for them, along with demographics and things like that. I think the one key though is it has to be in alignment, because I have coaching clients that want to start a podcast and go after resorts, but there are, let's say they're a graphic designer or web designer. Well, that doesn't really fit, but you could twist it. Like I have a wedding planner client. She could do it from resorts because they host weddings there, but it just has to be a good fit. You can't sell, I guess, I don't know, tennis balls or something and expect to get a resort online. You know what I mean?
No, that's really good feedback and that's something that a lot of beginning entrepreneurs, beginning people will do, whether it's their pitches or their social media stuff, is they'll start with a website that offers a free Instagram training, but they actually want to be known as a copywriter. And so there is an alignment thing that isn't correct, right? Or if you run a blog and your blog is about traveling the world, fantastic, you can reach out to those companies. But if you reach out to a clothing company, then you might need to tie it in somehow, like, well, I'm going to take pictures as I travel the world and talk about how your clothes work in hot climates, cold climates. But you need to figure out that tie-in, right? That's very intelligent. Right. And I know that a lot of entrepreneurs, as they're thinking about their messaging and what they're selling, is very brilliant to think about that, whether you're looking for sponsors or whether you're just talking about what you're offering and what you send out to the world as far as your pitch or the thing that kind of grabs people.
Yes. And another thing you could think about is your previous lives or previous jobs. So I'm in alignment because I have a hotel degree and I worked as a hotel executive for 15 years. So in that industry, I have an upper leg, so to speak, because I speak their language. I know, their business model and what happens if they don't sell a room that night and all this stuff. So it definitely helps if you know the lingo. I was in the industry too long ago to have any contacts left, but that would be an amazing thing if I didn't have to start from ground zero again and with building relationships. But thinking about your past lives, I always kind of joke that I loved being in the hotel industry because I love the properties and I love the surroundings and I love the views, but I hated the job of it. So being able to kind of be in the same environment, but on my own terms is quite ironic or funny to me.
Yeah, that's it's great. You got the best part of it, what you were actually wanted out of it. I like to get painfully practical with things, and maybe some of you guys are wondering, okay, so how much should I charge? Like, what monetary value should I put on per second of a like a commercial reel, that kind of thing.
Okay, well, I didn't really want it to be complicated as far as times the amount of downloads or anything. So we just put packages together. So there's a mention in the intro, a mention in the outro, show notes page links, and a 30 to 60 second mid-roll commercial plus social media. And I guess just for example here, that would be, let's just say $500 an episode to make it simple. So it's not, you could be leaving money on the table that way, but it's just simple. The podcasting is such a small part of my business. I don't need that to be complex.
Yeah, I think simple is good, and it sounds really straightforward, which is great too. And, there's a big range. We've heard of someone charging thousands of dollars for that spot versus someone charging $50 for a spot like that. So
right.
There's a huge range, and you have to go with what works for you and your business.
Yeah. And of course, just like my coaching client packages, they go up every year. So these will go up every year as well as the show gets bigger and so forth. Or if the resort wants us to do extra things, if they want us to feature certain activities or something like that, then we'll charge more, or we'll just be so thankful that we got to do the activity that it just is more of an experience sometimes than getting the actual monetary compensation for some of these things, because my monetary compensation comes from my actual clients.
Yeah. And it sounds like you would rather do an exchange for goods than for the money.
Yeah, that's how it seems to keep coming up for me in this moment right now. In the future, I don't know, because once you get to a certain level, it's easier to just pay for it than deal with all the sponsors and doing all the extra marketing and everything. So there might come a time when I rather just pay for it and be more anonymous at the resort instead of everyone kind of knowing who you are and stuff when you check in. Sometimes it's a little uncomfortable and you just want a day off or something like that.
Yeah, I can get that. Living on a small island, I get that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So before we close out, are there any last tips that you want to make sure the thriving launchers walk away with, things that they can start applying right away?
Yeah, I think the one thing that people don't do is just simply ask. And I know that sounds really basic, but I see it in my clients all the time. They just, when they first come to me, they don't have any clients. Well, it's because they're not offering anything. They're not making offers. Just simply asking is, you'll never know unless you don't ask. So I think that's what's missing a lot out there.
It's so true. It's been so great to have Erica Duran on the show.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Erica.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. It was great to meet you guys, fellow islanders.
We've been talking about how to get sponsorships for your podcast show. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone, and keep thriving. You've been listening to the Thriving Launch podcast. For books and resources related to today's episode, make sure to head over to thrivinglaunch.com. We'll see you there.
I just want to invite you over to the next episode where we're going to be talking with Dr. Rick Hansen about the neuroscience of lasting happiness and how to actually create lasting change in your happiness levels on a daily basis. If you've enjoyed this episode today, make sure you head over to iTunes and make sure you're subscribed and that you've given us a positive rating.